The 4 levels of importance in a relationship: admiration, mutual attraction, commitment, compatibility. Mutual attraction, the most dangerous part of relationship. This is the part where everyone starts to fall in love, like this person, attached to this person. Your life has more meaning with this person. For someone who's looking for a long-term relationship, yes, these 2 things are important, but it has nothing to do with your long-term relationship yet. Just because you have a share of like favorite food, like no one gives a shit. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that this will be good for a long-term relationship. Problem in today's era of dating, we have situationships. You're basically getting the boyfriend experience from me, or they're getting the girlfriend experience from you without actually having the commitment. And one of you are bound to have an attachment, a connection, when that other person doesn't want it. Going on dates or hanging out and enjoying the person's company is nice and part of a relationship, but it's the dessert of your meals. What you need in a relationship is a teammate, someone who accepts you for you at your lowest, someone who wants to build something with you despite the flaws that you have. You want to work with this person despite the flaws that they have. It's not easy, right? Because you have to work on it. I need to be prepared to go through the pains because that is part of love. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Hey Hammy Show. For today's episode, as you've seen from the title, I've been reading this book. It's called Love Life by Matthew Hussey. It's been a very, very interesting book to read, and it's something that I wanted to get into because something that I've realized to put it into context first, a lot of people in my life have been getting married, getting into relationships, breaking up, and everyone's going through like a relationship thing, and including myself. So everyone's going through a relationship thing, right? And we're all striving to have a long-lasting relationship, be it a marriage or whatever that you guys are looking for. And I told myself, like, I need to find sort of like a guide other than my Islamic belief, like a guide as to how to move forward in a relationship, because I really don't know how to. And everyone always looks at it as like instinct. And I realized like it can't just be instincts, because everyone in around my life, or even including myself, I have no idea what I'm doing. I genuinely don't. When it comes to like, I guess, giving affection to someone, impressing someone in dates, and yeah, like you want to impress someone, but in terms of like how to move forward and like what are things to look out for in a partner, or like as we say it right now, what are the red flags to pay attention to, like all these things, like I have no idea. We're just basing it on instincts, and to me it just didn't make sense. It would be like going to a boxing class and just going there like, okay, let me just trust my instincts on how to punch, and like, you know, we need steps, we need guidance from a coach to like understand how to move forward. And when the experience come along, and then we'll have to try and apply the things that we learn. So I bought this book called Love Life from Matthew Hussey because I've been watching his videos on what to look for in a relationship and what's actually important in a long-term relationship. And I guess I'll just go through with you guys chapter by chapter of like what he says and how I view it, what I've learned from it, and yeah, we'll start from there. I do want to start the episode by saying that all these things that I'm saying is just what I've learned so far, and I still have a lot to learn. I'm still a student with this. I'm not perfect. Any shortcomings will be from me, and any good out of this episode will be from God, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. So yeah, let's start with the intro, right? So the intro was a lot about like breakups, because I mean, a lot of people learn about love life when they go through a breakup, you know, or when they go through not even a breakup, but like a heartbreak. It can be a grief of someone who died or whatever it is. And it starts with a very cool quote with, don't grieve over someone who didn't choose you. If they didn't, then they're not the one. Kill your ego. The new weathered, scarred version of you is better. I really, really like that, because like everyone's always saying like, oh, she's the one, he's the one. And like, she can't be the one if she didn't choose you, or he can't be the one if he didn't choose you, at least for now. So it gives a lot of stability to a lot of people who's like, I guess, gone through breakups or heartbreaks, to be like, you know what, let's not at least for now, let's not have that mindset. And that's the only way you can move on, because that's the mistake that we make, right? We think that there's only this one person who's for us. But one good way to look at it is like, as of right now, that person's not good for us. So I really like how he started the book. So the first chapter is called Being Single is Hard. And I'm going to blend it with chapter 2 with How to Tell a Love Story, because it's more of like talking about being single is hard after you've broken up. And it's that ache you feel after a breakup, right? You feel like there's no one else for you. There's that, like, that person is perfect for you. And he's just saying, like, it's like a chronic addictive pain that you go through, and like you're addicted to the drug of your ex. And you're just always thinking like, oh, I can't find another love, because like this already took me like years to create, to build. How the hell am I supposed to build this with another person? You know, and breakups get very, very complicated and stuff. And like, he was just explaining about how these pains can be chronic and addictive. And one of the ways that he told people to, one of the things that he wrote down in the book was try to put the pain that you're going through each day through a scale. So for example, like maybe you miss your ex today, and then the first thing you put down is like, okay, the pain is like a 5. The next day it's like a 7. Maybe the next day it became a 10. Maybe one day it became a 1. And it's very important to do that. I actually tried to just put it in my head with how that felt. And it was interesting because there'll be some days where you get like a 5 or like a 4, and then you're like, oh, it's actually not too bad. Like I can actually still move forward in my life. And it's something that I think everyone should definitely try out if you're going through a heartbreak, or like you're going through something. Write it down. There's a lot of things where, like, I think the human brain, why we overthink, I said this on that episode, it's like we don't have a visualization of what's happening in our brain, and it gets very clouded. It gets very confusing because there's no visualization. But there's something about putting a number or like writing things down. It really like changes how we view the pain, and we actually understand the pain. It's like good communication, but for your brain, you know, to do these things. So let's move on to chapter 2 with How to Tell a Love Story. Sometimes to let go of something or someone, we have to stop telling the story the way we want to tell it, or the way we are telling it to other people. So, listen, I've been guilty of this, where like, let's say, mostly at work for me personally, where like, someone pissed me off, and then I'm telling it to someone else. I'm like, oh my god, this person pissed me off. I can't believe they did this to me and they said this to my face. But in reality, it might have been like my boss being like, hey, Hami, can you just do this properly? That's it. But I take it as like a way of like, oh, he was so mean, he was so rude, and it was like an assumption. And then all my friends are gathered around me like, oh yeah, your boss sucks, like your boss was rude to you, that kind of thing. And it happens a lot with like I've had a few experiences with my friends being like, oh, my ex did this, they did this, and like it was just bad. And I'm like, was it really that bad? Like, it's that question of like, sometimes it is good to have your friends around you to talk about your problems and all this kind of stuff. But sometimes when someone is villainizing the person that they were with so much, we have to be honest with ourselves and like let our ego down to tell the story as best as we can as it is. So it includes to the people that we love, because if we tell the story from only our side of it, then we will always villainize the other person, and you can't forgive someone who's a villain in your life. And the only way to move forward from a heartbreak, an ex, or whatever it is you gotta accept your mistakes. And at the end of the day, it takes 2 to break up a relationship, or it takes 2 to build a relationship. Doesn't matter what it is, even if it's the worst thing possible, worst case scenario, it takes 2. So telling the story the way it is very, very important to start telling other people about the problems that you face. All right, so this next part is my favorite part. All right, there's this 4 levels of importance in a relationship, or in a long-term relationship. I love this one. This is something that all of you right now, if you're listening to this, get your notes, get your paper, pen, laptop, notes, whatever that you have. Trust me, this is going to change your life as much as it did for me. And it really got me reflecting on every part of how I'm going to view relationships for my future. All right, so the 4 levels of importance in a relationship: there's admiration, mutual attraction, commitment, and compatibility. Okay, so let's go with the first one, admiration. Admiration is the easiest one and the part that gets you attracted to this person. So admiration can be even if you haven't met this person, right? Like this person maybe works in a good job, he's a lawyer, he's a doctor, whatever it is, and he's also good looking, and then you're like, oh, you already have admiration towards this person, so you already have an attraction to this person, right? So that's the first level of importance. Yes, you must have a level of admiration to be with someone, right? It's the first thing that attracts you to this person. So that is number 1. That's where everyone gets the story, right? Even before you get a relationship with this person, just seeing that can already put your head through stories of like, oh, this person could be the one, this person would be a good father, this person would be a good partner. And that's the mistake that I definitely have went through, of like just seeing it like that and be like, oh, this person could be the one, you know, and you haven't even met this person or you haven't even done anything, you know. And that's a very dangerous place to be in. Very dangerous place. Now, the second level of importance, mutual attraction. Now, this is what Matthew Hussey said is the most dangerous part of relationship, because after you have admiration and then you have mutual attraction, once you have mutual attraction, it's the part where you guys have started talking or like you have hung out a little bit, and then this is the part where a lot of people go through like, oh, I know I like this person and then this person likes me too. Hence, this is rare. I don't ever get to like a lot of people. I'm going to keep this and just stay with this person. Now, I am saying this, I'm also agreeing with Matthew Hussey for the fact that this is one of the most dangerous part of a relationship, especially for people who are looking for a long-term relationship, right? If you're looking for a hookup or whatever, this is not an episode for you, right? So get out of this episode. If at this point you have mutual attraction, this is the part where everyone starts to fall in love, like this person. You haven't, like, especially in our era of like situationships right now, right? I fucking hate this situationship thing. This is where like you start getting attached to this person, where you start to want your life has more meaning with this person. But for someone who's looking for a long-term relationship, yes, these 2 things are important, but it has nothing to do with your long-term relationship yet. Literally nothing. And it's coming from me, someone who's done that mistake, and I feel it deep in my heart, like, not regret, because whatever that's done in the past is the past, but I didn't even know that this would be a problem, because I just thought you should have a mutual attraction and like that's how you move forward. But it's a good starting point, but you shouldn't base these 2 things, this admiration and mutual attraction, as to like, okay, this is a good part of a relationship, like I think we can go somewhere further. Just because you have a connection, just because you share the same likes for movies, TV shows, just because you have a share of like favorite food, like no one gives a shit. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that this will be good for a long-term relationship. Okay, so now number 3, commitment, right? Commitment is where both of you tell each other like, I want a commitment with this person. I want this person to be boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Like there's a shared goal and shared vision as to what this could be. And I feel like this is more of a problem in today's era of dating, because we have situationships, which again I hate. From the bottom of my heart, I really hate this whole situationship thing, because like now a lot of people, including guys and girls, are accepting when like someone's like, I'm not really looking for a relationship, I'm not really looking for a long-term relationship, I'm not really looking to be a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, whatever it is, but I like what we have now and we don't have to rush it. And as much as I have been guilty about it, it's kind of ironic, because as someone who's looking for a marriage, who's looking for a long-term relationship, I've definitely confused standards with going with the flow. Because if you know that you are looking for a lasting relationship and a marriage, the question to ask yourself next, including myself, the question that I had to ask is, what does it mean to have a long-lasting relationship? What do I need in a person to have a long-lasting relationship? If this person doesn't want a relationship and they're just enjoying my company, right? They're basically getting the boyfriend experience from me, or they're getting the girlfriend experience from you without actually having the commitment. And then one of you are bound to have an attachment, a connection, a love for this person when that other person doesn't want it. And I guess it does come a little bit from like insecurity, and we're scared that we don't want to lose this person, because like it's so hard already to find like a person who has mutual attraction, right? And then to know that they don't want a relationship with you while you're giving them the boyfriend/girlfriend experience can be scary, because you're over there like hoping they would change in the future, because we're already doing the actions, right? We're already doing the actions of like boyfriend/girlfriend, and then we're too scared to admit, or like we don't want to scare them off, being like, no, like you either want to be official by the next month or something, if not we can't be together. And it's something that I've definitely been guilty of, and a lot of my friends have been guilty of, and probably a lot of you have been guilty of. And it's something that's worth knowing, and definitely worth asking if you know your standards. If you know that you want to have a long-lasting relationship or marriage, ask this question as early as possible, or give it like a timeline. Like if they say they're not ready, what I've realized, like what I want to do, if I know I like this person, I'll be like, okay, let's go out for another month. I don't want to invest too much of my feelings, because I like you. I know I like you. And if you don't know yet, let's maybe give it a month. If not, then I don't want to be too invested, and we can go our own separate ways. You know, it's what he says in the intro. Don't grieve over someone who didn't choose you. So if you're not going to choose me, I'd rather let you go earlier. So, right. The final one, compatibility, which is something that comes a little bit later on, but I guess people can find ways to see whether they're compatible. So the questions that he put was, are they good at handling me, especially at our lowest? Are we patient and amused when helping each other? It doesn't feel like a chore, but rather we love doing so. This can get pretty hard, especially in the start of a relationship where all you want to do is like impress each other, go on dates and that kind of thing. And it's so true, right? Because what a lasting relationship essentially means is two people who are willing to work with each other to build something together, and who look at each other's flaws in the lowest moments as part of the love that they have, and they don't judge each other. And the craziest thing about this step thing, right? This admiration, mutual attraction, commitment, compatibility. Only after reading through these things, right, I realized what I went through with my relationships. I had compatibility with this person, but I didn't even realize that, because I just looked at it as like, okay, like we understand each other. But I didn't even know that that was essentially what was needed in a long-term relationship, because it wasn't like sexy, you know? Like if you're going through your worst pains and then she helps you out, then you're like, okay, like it just feels like that's how it should be. But it's not sexy. It's not like they dressed up for you and then you notice like their hair is different, and then you notice they're wearing like a nice dress, or like you notice like they did this small thing where they bought flowers for you, you know? Like all these things we notice instantly, and we're like, oh, like he cares for me. But the parts where like you are at your lowest and they don't judge you, and then it feels good to work with them, or even when things are like mundane and then they're still just by your side every single day. Those are the things that actually matter in a long-term relationship. That's not sexy, but it's the thing that we sort of have to realize in the relationship and really take a moment to reflect. And it's something that I definitely reflected a lot about and realized like, oh shit, like we were actually very, very compatible. We still are very compatible. And yeah, it's something that I think everyone who's listening out there to really pay attention to these things, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, a marriage, is to pay attention to these 4 levels of importance, which is, again, admiration, mutual attraction, commitment, and compatibility. Now, I'm not going to go through like the whole book of chapters, but I'm just going to take the ones that I find interesting and things to like look out for, because all of us are looking for relationships, or maybe not even looking for a relationship right now, but like down the line, most people want a relationship. And yeah, including myself. So yeah, chapter 3, which is retrain your instincts. This is the one that I talked to you guys about during the intro, right? Your instincts can get you killed, literally get you killed. Like, again, we talk about the boxing. When you're boxing, right, you want to blink, though that instinct is actually what gets you hit rather than staying open and blocking. So again, with relationships, I find myself guilty so much with the idea of admiration and mutual attraction. Once I get that, I'm like, boom, let's go for a relationship. I'm like having stories in my head. I have like pictures of what a relationship should be. It's all the sexy things, all the pretty flowery things where I trust my instincts and like, let's go for this person. But to be honest, the instincts is exactly why why that relationship wouldn't work. You have to really like look back and reflect. Sometimes, like I said, you don't even know. Sometimes you are compatible, you have commitment, you don't even realize like, oh wait, shit, we actually work very well. But because we are so programmed with the idea that love has to be powerful, it has to be like passionate, it has to be romantic all the time, then that's also an issue with like today's generation, with how a relationship should be. Or like we see like, oh, if he doesn't text you this much, or if he only calls you this much, then he doesn't like you. Like, there's too many things. Like, each person has their own thing, and as long as it fits for you, then that's for you. You have to really understand yourself to be in a compatible relationship rather than just focusing on like that attraction and admiration part of it, and don't be too invested in that first 2 stages. I feel so weird talking about it like this, because like I feel like I'm a relationship coach, but I'm not. Okay, guys, like I'm just doing this episode because these are the things that I've been trying to reflect on, because I've made a lot of mistakes. Trust me, I have, and I'm learning from it. And this is just sort of like me trying to teach the things that I've learned, because you know what they say, right? Learning something is good, but teaching something is another form of learning for yourself. So I'm trying to do that and just spreading the message for people who want to learn more about love. And yeah, I've just seen too many. I just don't agree with today's generation of dating, where it's like you just have attraction, mutual attraction, and then you just go on dates, hang out, and then like have, I don't know, some people do like casual sex, all these kind of things. And like at the end of the day, one of them is looking for a long-term relationship, but they don't know how to, or one of them doesn't want to, and it just destroys everything at the end. That's where all the heartbreaks happen. Or people who are already in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, in a committed relationship, but we don't know that part of the relationship is not necessarily losing feelings, but it gets boring, it gets mundane. Sometimes you fall out of love, but you have to find a way to spark it again. And like, that's just part of a relationship. And that's why I decided to read this book and listen to many podcasts. Now, one of the things that he asks you to look at when you retrain your instincts, instead of just looking at the admiration and mutual attraction part, is to look for the teammate traits and not the connection. Interesting, right? And ironically enough, so obvious, but we don't pay attention to that. So looking at someone who you can work with towards whatever relationship that you have. Like, let's say I personally am flexible with where I want to work right now. If I want to work in Singapore, Australia, I'm pretty chill. I don't have like a basis that I want to work at, or like a country that I want to work at. And if I can find someone who's like okay with that, and they can work with me and build a family anywhere, then That's a good trait to have. That's a teammate. Or like one of my friends told me this, right? Like the IKEA challenge. If you and your girlfriend slash boyfriend can build something from IKEA together, pay attention to how you build the thing together. If you can't build it together, then that might not be your wife, not be your husband, because you can't even build like a bed together. How do you expect to build a relationship together? So that was an interesting thing that you guys can try with your relationship, maybe. And not pay too much attention with the connection, because the thing about connections, man, everyone always talks about this, including myself back then. Oh, we just connect, man. Like, oh my god, like we can talk all night, we can watch anime together, we can watch movies together, and like we share the same things, we can like have coffee together. Oh my god, like she doesn't mind like if I go out late at night, like he doesn't mind if she goes out late at night, and we just connect, we just connect. I get it, there is a connection, yes, but that's not the thing that actually makes it a lasting relationship. A lasting relationship, which is a teammate, is someone who can pull you up when you're at your lowest, and someone who doesn't judge you for you when you're at your lowest. So that's like a quality that you have to be aware of, because sometimes even I don't even realize sometimes when I'm like helping people or like helping my partner through the lowest moments, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like that's cool, I helped out. But I didn't even realize that was like maybe some other guy who dated that person of mine would have been like, oh, she's depressed now, or like she's going through a hard time, like I just can't take it, like she's so annoying, like okay, can you just stop being so sad? Like someone might have looked at it that way for that person, but for me it was like, I love helping this person out, and that was a quality that's part of compatibility, where it's okay for me. It's about finding the right partner who can work things out with you. So number 3, when life happens, we don't really trust our instincts, but we rely on our training. So it makes sense, right? Like we can't just base our love, our relationships based on instinct. We have to see from our training, our past mistakes, the past things that we learned. So if we start looking at books, so I highly recommend everyone, because I can't talk about everything on this book, is that this is our training. The book is my training. And then when the day comes where I face problems, or when I'm seeing someone, then that's something that I can prepare for. It's not something that like once I read this book I'm a love expert. I am in no way a love expert, but it at least gives you like a preparation from the training that you've had. So yeah, instincts, man. Now with instincts, at the end of the day, the thing is, we can say all these things, right? But true character is consistent, and it can only be told over time. And like that's why it's good to have this like warning signs, I guess, to like, okay, I have mutual attraction for this person, admiration for this person. Okay, now let me rewind and not be too invested in this person, because at the end of the day, true character only comes through time, right? You can only know this person through time. You don't know, like when you're first meeting someone, you go on a first date, they're happy, they dress up for you, but you don't know, maybe in the back of their head, like they maybe they have like, this kind of extreme for a random one, but it may be true, they have debt, or maybe like they got kicked out of their house, or maybe they're seeing like 4 or 5 different people and you're not comfortable with that. You don't know that. There's a lot of things that you have to go through with character as time passes by. That's why the best thing about this book is to tell, actually the number one lesson that I've learned from this book is just don't be too invested from the start. Be careful, let the character be shown as time passes by. And this is why I say I hate situationships, because you start doing the boyfriend-girlfriend experience without knowing the character first, and then you're already invested, and then you get heartbroken really quick from a person that technically isn't your boyfriend/girlfriend. And yeah, so retrain your instincts. Trust me, guys, relationships isn't as instinctual as we thought it is. It definitely takes a little bit of like getting out of your comfort zone and getting out of that box, and like actually reflecting on what the relationship should be. A little bit of chapter 5 and 6, which is do not join a cult of 2 and red flags. Now, what basically this means is that don't just have a relationship between the two of you, because you can get lost. I think a lot of people, including myself, we got lost in just like the two of us and not involving the people that we love and trust to see like, okay, how is this guy, how is this girl like? So don't be in a cult of two. And red flags. Now, this red flag thing, let's clear it up. There's definitely a thing with like humans, including myself, like we love identifying red flags because it gives us power, right? Oh my god, he has a red flag. Oh, she talks badly about her ex, like how they treat others, love bombing, like it's a red flag thing. But it's not necessarily something that you just look at it and like, nope, he's not for me, she's not for me. It's something that like you have I guess it's a warning sign. It's more like a stop sign, and you're like, okay, look, this is a red flag. Let me have a look and see whether this would go down bad. And if you really feel like down the line it's really bad, then fine. Then it is a red flag. But don't look at red flag as something that's like it's permanent. You know, people change and maybe they're just nervous at the first date or whatever. So yeah, there's a couple of red flags that he put in the chapter, which number one was talking badly about their exes, still talking to their exes, how they treat others, love bombing, which is interesting enough. One of it was like a man who thinks the first girl he meets would be his future wife. Then the more he knows her, he realizes she's not, and they break up. And not saying sorry, and it's always the other person's fault. Consistently not keeping on promises and inconsistency in communication. I love this one because he says this quote in the book. It says, standards aren't tactics. Standards are consistent, and inconsistency is manipulation. Let me get that right, I think. Yeah. Standards aren't tactics. Standards are consistent, where inconsistency can be manipulation, and it's a tactic, right? So for example, for me personally, recently, I've really been just doubling down on like my prayers and going back to my religion. And I've realized like for me personally, I've been lacking God in my relationships. And I believe that when I have God as the center of my relationship and the leader of my relationship, that's when I can really bring forward my standards as I'm walking with God in a relationship. And I'm walking with God in a relationship. And I become more true to myself. I'm like, I know what my intentions are with this person. And the thing with tactics, it's sort of like, not necessarily, when I say manipulation, it's not necessarily like a bad intention, but sometimes when you meet like an attractive person, or like someone who you find attractive, or someone who just cares about you, there's like tactics to win this person. But winning the person is like just going for the chase, and it's not something that people may consciously do, but it may be like, okay, now I got the person. But once you get the person and you see the deeper side of them, and then you're like, shit, maybe I don't want them. And that's the difference between people who have tactics and people who have standards. And like I said, personally for me, after what I've been through with like my relationships, as of this moment, I realized like I want a long-lasting relationship. I want a marriage. And reading this book definitely has brought me the steps to understanding where I should go, questions I should ask, and things to look out for in a partner. Because I think we all know this. Sometimes we get too into the relationship and the fun of it and the attraction of it and the connection of it, that sometimes we get lost in it and we're just scared to lose it, and then we don't actually do the things, the work to bring the relationship forward. The next one that I'm going to talk about over here is part of the relationship still, and then the final part I want to talk about like the action steps that you can take, or like the truth that you can take for yourself, because loving another person also means that you have to, ironically and cheesily enough, love yourself first. All right, I realized if I go on for the whole book. This is going to take like 2 hours, so I'm going to continue one last point with like the looking for a partner part. All right, basically with the chapter 8, like to summarize, attention is not intention, is that we have to prepare ourselves with whatever that I've said just now, the 4 levels of importance, especially admiration, mutual connection, mutual attraction, commitment, and then compatibility. Is that, yeah, great dates, fun, all these are important parts of relationships, but at the end of the day, the analogy that I use is that going on dates or hanging out and enjoying the person's company is nice and part of a relationship, but it's the dessert of your meals, right? You can say it's essential, like in life, to have desserts, to have ice cream. It's an essential part of eating, I guess, but what you need is your carbohydrates, your protein, your vegetables, your fruit. What you need in a relationship is different from dates and fun. What you need in a relationship is a teammate, someone who doesn't judge you for you at your lowest, someone who accepts you for you at your lowest, someone who wants to build something with you despite the things that you have, despite the flaws that you have. You want to work with this person despite the flaws that they have. And that's not sexy. That's not something that's like it's not easy, right? Because you have to work on it. It's the same thing with the analogy that I use on everyone. Like, everyone wants the big body, everyone wants the nice and toned body, but you have to go through the pain of working out. That's the whole point. So if I am going to look forward to my love, my future love in the future, right, I need to be prepared to go through the pains, because that is part of love. I can't just look at it as like, oh, I'm just enjoying. No, like I've had enough. Like, we need to normalize. I'm not saying normalize abusive relationship or toxic relationships, but there is a pain that's good for you, because pain is what makes you who you are. It's the things that make you improve yourself. It's pain is what makes you you, you know? That's what we need in relationships, to not give up on our love. So the next part, the next chapter, the last one about relationships of like the other person, is chapter 9, Never Satisfied. Is that we confuse excitement with a committed relationship, boringness that never feel right despite the security. And why do we always say yes to people who are bad for us, right? When I say bad, I don't mean like the person is like a bad boy, or like the person is like a drunkard, a toxic person. No, bad can mean like they just want to have fun. But that's not what you're looking for, because the people who are listening to this podcast, the people who I'm surrounded around, are people who want to get married, the people who want a long-term relationship, the people who want a lasting relationship. And call me crazy, I still believe in this. No matter who you are, I don't give a shit who you are, right? I don't give a shit who you are. Deep down, even all my friends who are like having casual sex, or the people who tell me they're just enjoying life, they're just having casual sex, or they're just enjoying company, at the end of the day, you want that connection. You want that deep connection that you can't get with someone who you just met, or someone who you're just there to like have fun with. It just doesn't. It goes deeper. You have to be able to go through the darkest moments with someone. And because you've gone through the darkest moments with someone, that's why when the light comes again, it gets so beautiful. When the light comes again, it's so extremely beautiful. I'm a Muslim. I have my standards right now. My standards right now are very different than I had a month ago. You know, I want the thing is, a lot of people look at it as like, oh my god, like he's Muslim, he's Christian or whatever, like they can't have sex, and like, oh, sex is like haram, sex is this. No, the act of sex is not haram. All of us get married because we do want sex. We do want that interaction, but it doesn't come with, it only comes within the boundaries of God, and then within the boundaries that we set, that I am not here to break your heart. I want a lasting relationship. I want to build a marriage with you, and then build a better sex life with you in future as well, right? People always say like, oh, you never know how the sex is. Like, sex is communication. If you have good communication from the start, and you have good compatibility, and then you get married, you can still communicate on how to have better sex. Everyone will tell you, right? I've had a lot of friends tell me about it, like, the first time is never the best. Yeah, exactly. The first time will never be the best. So what does that tell you? I just reflected on this. What does that tell you on having the first initial connection to be like amazing? it can wear out again. It's the same thing. It can wear out again, but you have to always work on it. You always have to work on it. All right. So I went off track a little bit, but let's go to the scarcity mindset. Is that why do we choose people that are bad for us? Because there's urges that we want to entertain people that we shouldn't, but the people that we love can see that they are bad news from a mile of us. I think a lot of us have seen that friend, right? Like and then we end up, and then that person end up like lying to us because they're also lying to themselves that this relationship is good for them. And it feels special, right? It feels special to be like, oh, I'm the one that changed him. Or like, because that guy is such a hard exterior, and then the girl is like, oh, he's only soft with me. Like, it feels special, but it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, if you want a nice lasting relationship with this person, they need to be nice with every single person that you love around you as well. You know, it's a good indicator. Like, if you have a good healthy relationship with the best friend of yours, or your mom, your parents, whoever it is, you have to show your partner them. And if they can really bond together, then that's a very, very good start as to how compatible you guys are. It's that relationship, like if you guys have watched Friends, when Joey was dating the Australian girl who moved in with as his roommate, and they started dating, and she just couldn't handle Monica and Chandler, and he's like, no, I can't be with you because you're not compatible with my best friends, and I cannot be with you because they are literally family to me. So how could I be with you if you're not going to bond with my friends? So the thing about never satisfied, I think the thing is, including myself, I have put too much pressure on like telling my parents about my girlfriend, or like telling my friends about my girlfriend. I think we should tell them sooner. We should tell them about it, like, oh, I'm seeing this person. Tell them sooner about it. Oh, this person means a lot to me. Can I introduce you? But not like serious. Don't introduce them seriously. Just like, oh, mom, I'm like seeing this guy, and then let them see, and then let them like open up. Because you'd be surprised, man. I was so surprised when I told my mom about my experience with my person, and my mom was just like, okay, cool. Like, I know everything about her now. Like, next time if things work out again, then let me know how it goes. And all this time I was just worried about, like, because my mom is a little bit more conservative, they're in a different generation, but I just didn't know. I just genuinely didn't know. So from that chapter 9, Never Satisfied, I feel like the lesson that I learned is like, don't confuse excitement with a committed relationship, and start introducing the person that you're seeing to the people that you love sooner. You don't have to bring them like on a serious date, or like, oh, mom, like, yeah, he's my guy that I'm dating, he's the girl that I'm dating. No, just bring them to like a coffee, a small dinner, like nothing too serious, and just let them feel them out. Because sometimes, as I said before, Matthew Hussey said, don't join a cult of two. Sometimes when you're just blinded with attraction, you really do get blinded. You really like don't notice certain things. So yeah, let's go to the part where we look at ourselves, and to sum it up, man, going down to chapter 13, identity confidence. This is where he basically talks about loving yourself and like what it actually means to love yourself. I'm going to use an analogy that he put. So chapter 13 and 15 actually talks about like your identity and your confidence, which is a part where I want to end this podcast off, which is the first analogy that he gives is that we have to look at life as confidence as a tabletop, and the things that holds the tabletop up, the legs, are essentially the qualities that we bring life towards. So let's say our confidence is this tabletop. So what are the things that make you confident? The legs. Let's say for me, it's the fact that I work out, how healthy I am, my career. My career shows my confidence, my family, my loving personality towards people. That brings my confidence. And then finally, to me, the day I have a amazing, beautiful wife by my side, I think that will bring my confidence up with me. But the problem with a lot of people who go through breakups or do like when they're fresh from a heartbreak, is that there's too much confidence or like identity confidence from a relationship. Like the thing that brings them confidence, or the people, rather, to make it easier for a lot of people, the people who are codependent in their relationship put the biggest leg on the table as a relationship, and you just can't do that. At the end of the day, you need at least four different legs and four different things to hold up your confidence. So be careful with that, guys. There are definitely quite a few people who put their whole identity with what their relationship is, and the whole point of confidence is that it has to be a few things and not just one thing. That's why when people tell me, or like, oh, this person has to be your world, or like, he's my world, she's my world, you can't say that, because everything about you is not just about the other person. And if you feel that way, even though it's a nice feeling, right, what are you doing to that person? It's not fair for your partner as well, because they're a flawed human. They're flawed and they need things to improve on. And if you put them on a pedestal, it's not fair for them as well. So that's what the chapter 13 about confidence was talking about. Yeah. Finally, to the end of the book, let's end it off with core confidence, which I love this part. Loving yourself isn't a goal or necessarily just a feeling. It's the actions that you take. So loving someone isn't just me saying I love you. It's the action that I take, you know? And I definitely have been guilty of doing this. I think everyone has, where you just say the word I love you, but the actions don't speak. And I think most importantly, I want to bring it to ourselves, is that it's easier to love someone and to show action towards someone. And sometimes it can go desperate as well. I've been there. But the thing that we need to start rephrasing or re-understanding, relearning the phrase loving yourself, is that it's a verb as well. Loving yourself, yes, is part of relaxation. Girls, get your manicure, pedicure, makeup, do that. That's part of loving yourself. Resting, watching movies, that is part of loving yourself when you're extremely tired. But be honest with yourself. Loving yourself is also going out to the gym or exercising at home. Loving yourself is also studying. Loving yourself is also opening that Bible, opening that Quran, if you're religious, opening that up and studying and disciplining yourself to be better. That action is loving yourself. Because what I've learned with working out is that I've been working out for 2 years straight, every single day, and I didn't even realize it because it was so subconscious to me, was that I was showing up for myself every single day. It was so natural and routine that only when I reflected on it, I've realized like I was showing up for my body, for my health every single day, and that's why my self-worth hasn't been lowered, because I know no matter what happens during the day, no matter how bad the day gets, the fact that I went to the gym for me and for my health, my self-worth will not go down, because I showed up for myself. And not only the things I said this on the Shakis podcast, is that when you show up for yourself, you actually show up for your partner, because every time you show up for yourself, being a healthy person, being disciplined, studying, improving your mental health, that is also helpful for your partner. So you got to start from there. You have to start from there, start loving yourself and putting the action, rather than a lot of people, including myself, when we say love yourself, I don't really know what that means. You don't have to know what it means. It's not a feeling that you chase. It is not a feeling that you chase. It's also a verb that you go for. Love yourself. Go to the gym. Go take that walk. Exercise. Read that book that you always wanted to. Listen to that podcast that you always wanted to. It's discipline, right? So I definitely want to end it off with one more point, is that a lot of us always look back at the mistakes that we made, including myself, and we always wish we could have done things differently. And Matthew Hussey brought a very, very good analogy with this. A very simple one is that look at your phone right now. You have your iPhone, Android, whatever phone that you're using. Do you ever open up your old phone that's not working anymore, turn it on and blame on the old model. Like, why are you not working? Why are you not working? Why are you so slow? Can you like hurry up? Why is your battery dying so quick? Do you ever do that with an old model phone? No, because it's an old model phone. When you look back at yourself at the mistakes that you did, you can't blame that person. That is a whole different person. That is not you today. That's a whole different person. You can't remove your past as well, right? That's just you back then. The only thing you can do right now is look at this phone right now, the new one, the new you, and improve yourself from there. That's the only action that you can take. Or reflect on that old phone. Maybe we can change this and make it better. That's it. But you can't change the actions that you did back then, right? And you can't remove your past, because if you are removing any part of your past, you wouldn't be the you that you are today. If you take away the pain that you had, the trauma that you faced, you wouldn't be the you today. You wouldn't be the person that I love for the many years that we have been together. You wouldn't be the person that I love today. So don't ever wish upon a change on your past. Love yourself as others love you, because that's the you that we fell in love with. Right? That's the you that I fell in love with. And I don't want you to change, because whatever flaws and traumas that you face, I accept that. You should accept that, because that made you today. It's okay not to like it. It's okay not to like the you. It's okay not to like the you that has trauma, pain, or whatever. But you have to accept that that made you who you are. And that's the you that made me fall in love with you. And that's okay. You don't have to pretend. Don't ever pretend. Never pretend for anyone, guys. Because at the end of the day, what is pretending? Pretending is manipulation. And manipulation is what? Inconsistent. When you're true to yourself, when you have standards for yourself, it is not a tactic. It is consistent, and it will always stay true. You can never lie throughout your life. You can never pretend to be who you don't want to be, or pretend to be someone that you're not. You just can't. Alright? I'm going to say it again. I'm going to end it off with a few nice words that Matthew Hussey has put in his book. And I hope you guys have at least learned something on this episode. To be honest, I just felt like I was ranting to myself. And these are some truth that he says in the book. Let me just read it out to you guys. And let's move on with our day and get our action started and start loving ourselves, right? Truth. Being in a relationship is no guarantee of happiness either. And there are plenty of people who seem happy in public, who are suffering immensely in private. Relationships do not automatically equal happiness. Another truth. Even being in a relationship that makes you happy doesn't guarantee you'll never be alone again. We may find the person we've always been looking for, only to have life taken them from us. The path to togetherness is not linear. The only relationship we are guaranteed till the day we die is with ourselves. You have learned so much already through this pain. You have had to become stronger on your own. You have had to learn how to fully experience solitude. You have had to learn how to self-soothe. You have formed deeper friendships in the absence of a romantic relationship. You have had to take care of yourself, and if you've done none of these things yet, your pain brought you to the point where you can now begin. By reading this book, Start and Look, a journey you never would have taken if you didn't feel the pain. You have access to a whole different kind and level of empathy toward others who experience this kind of pain. So now you can express the kind of sensitivity and compassion that others may not be able to. You can now connect to people who are suffering, which nearly all of us will one day in this life, and really help them. You are learning how to be happy enough with or without a relationship, and that is a form of invincibility. That's core confidence at its essence, knowing you'll be happy enough no matter what happens in your identity matrix. If the wrong person comes along, you'll be able to say no to them. When someone promising comes along, you'll be present enough to actually enjoy it, instead of suffering the constant anxiety that they may one day leave and take your happiness with them. Happy enough is what allows you to actually enjoy the happiness of the relationship you're in. And I would like to say that happy enough for me is that God is enough for me. Allah is the protector of all hearts. Allah forgives, and Allah loves me more than anyone could ever love me. And to base my foundation with God, and then to base my foundation on a relationship with God, is where I personally would start my next relationship. And I hope you guys find the love of your life, which actually means, who are you willing to take the risk with, and who are you willing to work on love with? There's no such thing. The question sounds very flowery and like, who is the love of your life? But we have to start looking at it as someone that we are willing to take risks with, a teammate, and someone who's ready to go through the harshest of pains and the highest of highs together. So, yeah. Thanks for listening to this episode, guys, and have a good day ahead. Peace.